And okay, hello, Mark.
Hello, Amir.
So, Mark Schaefer, is it Schaefer? This is how you say?
Yeah. Schaefer.
Schaefer. Is among the most acclaimed and accomplished market consultant in America, with special emphasis in social media marketing. A few of his recent accomplishments include Ad Age Magazine, Power 150, Power Blogger, Tweet Smarts, 2011 Global Twitter User of the Year, Peer Elect of 2011 B2B Twitter User of the Year, numerous international awards for his blogs, which is Grow, B2B Magazine from UK, Social Media Book of the Year, The Tao of Twitter, of course, wonderful book. The author of 4 best-selling marketing books. He has 7 patents. Is it right? 7 patents?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Mark's books, the Tao of Twitter, is the best-selling book on Twitter in the world, and his book, Return of Influence, was named to the elite top academic titles of the year by the American Library. Mark is also giving 1-hour phone consulting. You can, if you want, you can do it in his website. So hello again.
Hello, I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you. I'm excited about it. So let's start with you know, obviously you have a splendid, very long career of marketing, and within it, specialty in social media marketing. So I would like to first, for the audience who's hearing and looking at us, and our social media expert, give us some tips of how to become a social media expert easy. Yes.
Well, I mean, a lot of people call me an expert, and that's very kind, and I appreciate that. But I don't know if anybody can really be an expert today, because everything is changing so fast. And I once saw an infographic that depicted 300 third-party applications just to support Twitter. So to become an expert at all of those, you could spend almost all of your time just studying Twitter. So I really think to be successful, you need to be curious and you need to keep up on things, but I'm not sure anybody can be an expert. I think the advice that I give people when they're starting out is to find one thing that they're really interested in or they're really passionate about. So maybe they want to try blogging, or maybe they want to really try to learn more about Twitter. Well, do that for a while and get comfortable in that and figure out how it works, and then move on to the next thing. That would be my advice.
Great. Okay. Of course, you run a company which give various various things or to companies, like strategies and teaching. I would like to focus now on strategy marketing for companies.
Mhm.
And I would like, first of all, just to understand what's your avatar, what's your ideal client, which you would live giving to him strategy marketing.
Well, the way I start with my customers, Amir, is, and this is very interesting, I'll ask my customers, can you finish this sentence? Only we. That's a really hard sentence to finish. It's one of the most difficult, and here's the funny thing. Sometimes I'll have executives around a table, and I'll have them get out a piece of paper, and I'll say, now finish this. For your company, only we. What are you special at doing? And if there's 5 people, they'll write down 5 different things. And that's a problem. So we need to think about, why do customers love us? How do we fit in our marketplace? What is the customer's unmet or underserved need that we meet in the marketplace? And where are our customers? Who are our customers? Who are our competitors? Where do we fit in this whole industry? Why do customers keep coming back to buy from us? And if you can fill that out, if you can answer those questions, that is really the beginning of your marketing strategy. And you'll be surprised at how simple it becomes after that. If you figure out, this is really what we're about, it kind of unveils itself. You realize, this is what we need to say. This is where we need to say it. This is who our customers are and where they're getting their information. So that's really where I start.
Okay, so obviously this is, if you can say it in marketing world, this is unique selling proposition. You ask them, can you
Yeah.
give me your unique selling proposition? Am I right?
Yes, I think that's true. And I also think that today we need to go through that activity almost continuously. When I grew up in business, if you can believe this, we used to have 5-year plans, 5 years projections of numbers. I don't know if anybody still does that anymore. But I literally had to fill out pieces of paper projecting, 5-year plans. And today, I think there is still a unique value proposition, but we have to, the market is changing all around us. And I think today, strategy is not so much something that you plant it in the ground and say, this is the way it is. You can do that for a while, but I think it's shifting so fast that you have to look at, strategy today is almost like filling a gap quickly, making money as long as you can, and looking for the next gap. So I think
Okay.
the nature of strategy is different today for many businesses.
Okay. And again, I'll ask you, this is regarding your type of business. Like if someone comes to your door and he tells you, okay, Mark, I want you to give that you will give me my strategy marketing plan. Would you say, okay, you're too small, you're too big, or I would like to, or I would like to deal with restaurants or with small companies in the stock market. Which one do you rather have working with?
Usually I like the ones that will give me the most money.
Okay.
I work with lots of different companies. And as you mentioned, I have a place on my site where even small businesses or individuals can sign up where I can help them, because I love that. I work mostly with large companies, but I like to stay in touch with what's going on with entrepreneurs and startups and and small businesses. I love that. I love helping people, and I don't want to be so busy and so expensive that I can't help people. So I have this little thing where people can just hire me for an hour, and people usually get a lot of value out of that. But I worked with a really big customer a few weeks ago, and I met this person in a meeting, and she was telling me her problem, and she said, we're like David against Goliath. We're the small company against the big companies with all the big money. And
Okay.
we don't have that money, and we don't have that market presence, and I'm trying to find out what we can do to just get a little bit more market share. And it was such a difficult marketing problem. I said, I would love to work on this. Please, please, please. Because I love hard marketing problems like that. And I was able to go through her research and find things that she hadn't really seen before. And we came up with 4 major ideas that she could pursue in her marketplace.
Amazing. Okay, this is the interesting point, and I'm gonna dig into that. First of all, the first question about it is, let's say you have to in one phrase or in one paragraph tell what's the best ROI for small business regarding social media. Do you have something to say?
Well, that's a very good question. It's a very big question that I get answered quite a lot. And so and actually I have a new book out called Social Media Explained. I have a whole chapter in the book about that exact question. And it took me longer to write that chapter than any other chapter. And the reason is because I knew I really had to get it right. I mean, because this is such an important question. So, but let me just answer it. Really, let me hit on 2 points on that question because it's a very complicated question. The biggest misunderstanding that businesses have about social media is that they try to compare it to advertising. Okay, and advertising is you have a campaign, you spend money to increase awareness, and once the money goes away, the awareness goes away. I view social media, the real power of social media differently. Now, there are lots of ways to use social media, but generally for business, it's a way to build relationships over time. Just like maybe our grandfathers did. Okay, my grandfather was a plumber. He worked with pipes, in houses and businesses. He didn't have advertising. He didn't have press releases. He didn't have a Twitter account. He built his business for 50 years on personal relationships, okay? Now, we've gone away from that because now we advertise and we do mass media. Social media is bringing it back to individual relationships, okay? So we have to think about this. This is not advertising. We can't measure it like advertising. How do you measure relationships? If you can think in those terms, how do you measure the value of a networking meeting in your community or in your industry? So that's the first way I would answer this, that we have to look at this differently. The expectation should be different than advertising. If you look at it as another type of advertising, you're probably going to be very frustrated. Now, the second thing I want to point out is, let me give you an example. In the last, let's say, 6 months, here are some of the benefits I've received from my social media presence, from my blog or from my Twitter account. I found somebody who I hired as an intern. I found somebody who I hired as a designer for my company. I was invited to give a speech in Wales. I was invited to collaborate on a book project. I found people who started working and providing me guest blogs for my blog. I had people who became interested in supporting one of my charities, and they donated money to a charity that I believe in. Now, those are just a few things, but here's the question. Of all these things that I mentioned, people to help me and collaborate and support, people I hired, people I work with now, what's the dollar value of that? What's the ROI of that? And so these are qualitative events. These are qualitative measurements, all right? It's not necessarily something you can count. It's not something you can put on a spreadsheet. Now, don't get me wrong, we should count whenever we can, especially when it comes to money. We should do that whenever we can. But something that many businesses overlook is the qualitative benefits of social media. Here's a perfect example. you and I are having this conversation right now. All right?
All
How did
right.
you hear of me? It's from my content on the web. Now, I'm providing value to you. I'm a guest on your show. I'm hopefully going to provide value for the people who watch this recording. And maybe you're providing value to me in some way because maybe someone will buy one of my books, or maybe they'll invite me to speak in Israel someday. I would love that.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Hopefully, I would love. That's one of my dreams is to come to Israel. So, so, but again, how would I put this in a pie chart? How would I put this in a diagram or a graph? I can't. I can't measure the dollar value of this relationship we've connected, but we connected through social media, and this is the beginning of our collaboration, and we never know where it will end up. And so businesses have to regard this as a legitimate way to measure social media as well.
Okay, great answer. I would like to take you to one of the things that you're doing. As we talked about, you're doing consulting of 1 hour to a person which you don't know. You don't know anything about him. You have to, in 1 hour, he
Mhm.
has to tell he has to tell you his story. He has to tell you his problem, his challenges, and in 1 hour, you're giving him super advisors. Which I read the reviews on your on the site. Awesome reviews. So what's the story? What's the secret about it?
Well, I was very fortunate when I was a young man. I got to study with a man named Peter Drucker. And Peter Drucker is one of the most famous consultants and marketing management authors in history. He's written some of the most amazing, wonderful books, and he died a few years ago, but I got to study with him, and he was one of my heroes. And one of the things that he taught us about being a successful consultant, he said the key is not necessarily having the right answers, it's asking the right questions. And starting, if you ask the right questions to really begin to see, is this person clear about what they're doing, why they're doing it? Do they know how they're different? Do they really know who their customers are, who their competitors are? So by asking those questions, you can kind of get people to begin to see what they need to work on, where the deficits are. And then the other piece of it is, I've been immersed in marketing and the whole social media thing so long that I see certain patterns and certain trends, and
Yeah,
I can, most people, they're just so close to what they're doing for so long, they can't see how they can improve. And so usually I can look at their website, I can look at their blog, I can see what they're doing, and usually, in an hour, I can give them a whole, several pages of ideas of things they can do right now, right away, to help improve their business.
amazing, amazing.
Yeah, it's very
Okay.
rewarding. It's one of my favorite things to do because in a short period of time, I feel like I can have a real big impact on people.
Wow. Um, okay, so can you give me an example um, of someone who came to you and things that you've done?
Well, yeah, I guess I could. I mean, I just had one of these meetings um, yesterday. I guess I hesitate a little bit talking about my customers, but I don't think this person would mind. I won't name her by name.
Mm-hmm.
But she had a marketing consulting business, and she wanted to take it to the next level. She was doing pretty well, um, but she had a couple things working against her. She lived in a area that was not very well populated. She didn't live in a big city, so she had to work remotely and get her customers in other places. Um, she had to work at odd times of the day because she still had young children at home. So she had to figure this out. So what I was able to do was I was able to listen to her and listen to the areas where she seemed most passionate and most energized. And then I kind of pushed on that and said, well, these are the areas that you love the most. You're not really working in those areas. Well, why is that? Well, she was trying to be like everybody else. She was looking at all her competitors, and she was trying to be like everybody else. And I said, look, to stand out in this market, if you want to take it to the next level, you have to get people's attention. You have to stand out. To stand out, you have to be original. To be original, you have to have the courage to look inside of you and say, what makes you special? What makes you original? And so we talked about some of those possibilities, and she got really excited. She said, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And so now she's doing a lot of introspection, and I said, ask your customers what makes you special. And you might be surprised at what you see. And then start blogging about that. Start creating content about that. I also encouraged her to start thinking about building her personal brand and maybe starting to speak, turning her blog posts into something bigger, like an ebook or maybe even a real book someday. So I helped put her on a path to build her personal brand, create a higher stature in her business, and hopefully it'll result in more revenue. I told her to give me a call back in a few months, and we'll see how it's going.
Okay, this is a great example. I love examples because when you have examples,
Mm-hmm.
things fall into the audience ears, and they're starting to understand things. And this is a great way to get into your mind and the way you work. So
Yeah,
thank you
I
for
like
that.
that. I like that. Someone told me recently that that is one of his most effective sales techniques is telling a story about a case study, because they said sometimes people don't really understand how you work until you tell an example, and they say, oh, I see how that works.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so okay, we're trying. I'm grabbing things of what you're doing, and I'm very happy about it. So thank you, and it will continue. Um, okay, so there is this thing that you wrote. You were doing a field test marketing tool. Can you please explain about that?
A field test marketing tool. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't remember that.
Okay, this is taken maybe it's taken from your website. Uh, Field tested marketing tool.
Oh, field tested. Oh, what I mean by that is that well, here's an example of what I mean by that. So I this new book that I wrote called Social Media Explained. Okay, I started working on the ideas behind this 2 years ago, and I tested them with my clients. I tested them in my classes. I tested them in speeches to see how people would react. Did it work? Were they excited? Did it have an impact on their business? So when I bring ideas like this, like I brought in my book, this isn't just me giving an opinion. This is stuff that I've worked with customers on. So it's field tested. It's been tested out with real people, with real companies, and it's working.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean by that. So I call it field tested or battle tested, meaning that people have, I'm not just making this stuff up. I'm using this stuff with real customers.
Okay. And the other things that's written is a step-by-step guide that shows you how to take advantage of social scoring system to measure online influence. And the social scoring system, something that's very interesting from my point of view.
Yeah, that's a very hot topic right now. This whole idea of social influence and the reason behind that. I'd be interested to get your opinion on this because in America, many of the traditional ways we get information, the opportunities to advertise are going away. So what I mean by that, people are reading newspapers less. They're getting their information online.
Of course.
People are seeing less television advertising because they're skipping through the ads on a DVR, or they've got some sort of subscription service. So now, I mean, I watch the television shows I watch whenever I watch them. I see no ads. So, do you see that same thing in Israel?
In Israel, I can tell you that there are lots of ads in the TV, and people are influenced with it. They can talk about it without even knowing.
Yeah, yeah,
From my
interesting.
point of view, what I do, I see in my iPad, okay, but then when I see they have their own advertisement, okay, and if I
Mhm.
see YouTube, it has its own advertisement. So I'm
Yeah,
full of advertisement anyway.
yeah, right. Well, what we're seeing, one of the trends is that it used to be the only people who could publish were newspapers or radio stations or television stations, but today with social media, anybody can publish. So I have a blog that might influence people. You know, I have books that might influence people. Now here's where it gets interesting. How do we measure how much more I influence people than you or one of my students? And so lots of people are trying to do that, and they've come up with these different social scoring systems.
Algorithm and software
Different,
stuff,
yeah, exactly.
and the keylot, it's the software. My score is 13, and your score is?
For clout,
Yeah.
76. So there you have it.
But I'm new. I'm a
Yeah,
rookie, so
but
hopefully it'll be better.
yeah. Well, read my book, and you can get better, I think.
I will. I will
Return on
surely.
influence. So, but the idea here is, I mean, think about this. Let's say if we could come up with a way to figure out, geez, Mark Schaefer is really influential about sports, let's say, or wine, or food, or fashion. Someone in the sports industry might be interested in getting to know me and maybe
Sure.
sending me material or inviting me to an event. If I'm a food blogger, a famous food blogger, then maybe a restaurant would want me to come to their restaurant to get something, nice, and so that I'll talk about this. I'll become an advocate for their business. So this is becoming a real science to identify who are these people who are influential, and what are they saying? What are their audiences about? Could these be audiences that potentially could be our customers? So it's really exciting, Amir, because this is like an entirely new marketing channel that's emerging.
Sure.
It couldn't have happened just a few years ago.
Okay. So yeah, sure. I agree with you totally. I wanna um I wanna use um, Google Hangouts just to show the audience and maybe talk about your blog, because there is something very interesting about your blog, and from my point of view, from my marketing point of view, it's very interesting to look at it. So I'm going to surprise you. I have to say to the audience, I went to Mark and I told him, okay, let's prepare for the question. I'm going to ask you some question. Let's go for it. And you say what's your opinion about it, and I will ask you only the one that you would like. And he said, shoot, I will go for everything. So so this is it. We are going for everything I'm gonna ask. Mark is gonna answer. So let's go for it. No, share screen. I'm gonna take you to my Chrome. Where is it? It could be that we're gonna have some issue with it. Let's see. No, it's not good.
The tech. There's always a problem with the tech.
Yeah, there's always a problem with that, but hopefully it's gonna be good now. Okay, start sharing. Okay, you see, all the audience, you can see that it's not good. I want to take it to the Chrome. This one should be good. Let's see if it's good. No, it's not. And no, hopefully we'll try it only one time. Only one time. I'll close the things and I want to take you to the cloud. Okay, this is it. I've done it before in my testing, so hopefully it's going to be good now. But if not, we'll only talk about it. We will only talk about it. Full screen. Full screen. Is it good? What do you say? Start full screen. What do you see? Is it not? You see it?
No, just a black screen.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I think I got it. Yeah. Do you see it?
No, I don't.
You don't? I see.
No.
No.
Oh, now I see it. Now I see it.
Great, great, great. Okay.
Yes, I see my website.
You see? Okay, great. Okay, so I want to tell why I like your blogs. Okay.
Okay.
There are some things that a blogger should do, and you probably talk about it. You talk about the infographics of your blogs. And first of all, numbers in the title. There are always numbers in Mark's in Mark's blog. Am I right?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah,
24 facts. And if we go there, here it's the 5 types of Twitter.
Yeah.
That you can do it right now. It always should be easy. Easy.
Yes.
And 7 ways for blocking. So we can go on and on probably forever and see that. And this is very attractive. Okay. And the other one is a beautiful photo. You can see it. Beautiful photo, image, and then the titles. Very simple title, boom, title, and then boom, title, and another title, boom, small paragraph, and another title. So this is my point of view, but again, this is not talking about me, talking about you. So can you just give us some tips about blogging? You can see it here in my screen. You can share your screen and we can talk about it. So the microphone is yours, please.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and just leave your screen up there, and let me point out a few things. Number one, you see that my blog is part of my website. This is a mistake that some people make. They have a separate blog. But here, if people come to my blog, they can look at the navigation bar at the top and see everything else that I can do. So that's important. The second thing I'd like to point out is that I have easy social sharing here. It's easy to tweet, put it on Facebook, put it on Google+. And again, I'm amazed at how many companies make it hard for people to share. That's the whole goal here. The content doesn't really work for you unless it moves through the network. So you want to remove every obstacle you can to make it move. Now you also see here that I have a nice photo, and there are lots of places to get inexpensive art or even free. And we've got something on here that's so I try to make it very visual, very fun. I think that's part of the entertainment value. I try to think up little funny things or something that will really grab your attention that's very visual. Now you see on this blog post here, that I've also broken it up into sections with subheadings, okay? I
Which
think
one? The 7 ways to blogging or
yeah,
the
either one. Either
either one?
one. Yeah, see
Okay.
the subheadings. So think how much easier it is to read this with the subheadings instead of
Yeah.
one big block of type. And another thing that's different about writing for a blog, and Amir, you kind of hinted at this, that the headline is very, very important because people will decide, am I going to read this or not, based on the headline. Now, I like this one here, a six-step plan to determine your social media strategy. Now, let me tell you a story about what I'm trying to do here. This is actually, I wrote a blog post last year that had a six-step strategy. I was very proud of this work. I was very proud of this blog post. But once it becomes a year old, a lot of people don't see it anymore. And yet this was very helpful work. So what I did is I made it into a slide presentation. I put it on SlideShare. And so now I've repurposed this real great content without really a lot of extra work. And in 1 week, this slide presentation has had 10,000 views on SlideShare.
Wow.
So, and it's the same content I had a year ago. So I'm reaching a new audience with this thinking, and it also makes a nice new blog post for this year. So it's different things I'm trying, again, to remember. It's not just about creating content, it's about igniting that content in different ways.
Okay, great. And after you post the blog, how do you publish it? How do you market it?
Well, you know, this is an interesting topic. I don't really do a lot of marketing, and here has been my philosophy. When I started out blogging, I guess it's been almost 6 years ago. Um, I looked at how does Google work as a company, and one of the things I realized was that Google could not fall for all these tricks about SEO and backlinks and all these things that people were doing. It was keeping the best content from coming to the top, and I thought Google has to win. They have the way Google is going to evolve. They have to give a benefit to high quality original content. Now, think about this. 5 years ago, people weren't paying attention to that. They were doing all these SEO tricks and all these backlinks and keywords and keyword density and all these formulas. And I basically ignored that. And I said, I am going to create great content that people love. And that's where I'm going to focus. And I think that's what wins. I think everything that Google does today is rewarding original authors, original work, things that don't get necessarily manufactured backlinks, but people that are really providing social validation to this by tweeting and by commenting. So that's really my focus, is that if I create great content that people want to share and love to share, that that's what I need to focus on. So I spend most of my time not promoting, but creating something great.
Okay, so let's go for your point of view of something that's very important to me, is how to create a very beautiful podcast.
Podcast. Well, I'm just learning about this myself. I created my podcast 1 year ago. In fact, I think our next podcast is going to be our 1 year anniversary. And so I'm still learning too. But here's the thing, Amir, that I think we need to focus on for all of our content. first we need to make it interesting. If you're boring, that's just death on the internet. So it has to be interesting. I also think beyond interesting, we should try to find a way to make it entertaining. That's why on my blog I'll have interesting photos. I might even insert some humor. On our podcast, I do the podcast with another person who's, very, very has a lot of interesting insights, and he's also very funny. And so he can do like impersonations of famous people, and we kind of work that into the podcast sometimes. So we try to be honest, we try to be fair, we try to be interesting, and we try to be entertaining. And that's all I know to do. And will it work? I don't know. Our audience is growing a lot, so let's hope that it works.
I agree with you. I would say, of course, involve the audience with your work.
As much as you can, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so how are you ready? This is the last thing. Are you ready for association game?
A word association game. Oh, that's a surprise. No one's ever done that before.
You said being funny and being entertainment. So
this is great. I love this. I love this. Go ahead. Let's try it.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, let's
Something
give it
happened. I don't know.
Yeah, let's give it a try.
Okay, so let's go for it.
Okay.
Google.
Does it have to be just one word?
No, you have the only thing that has to be is you being quick.
Okay. Most powerful business creator on earth.
Very good. Blogging.
My great love.
Don Crowther.
Who is it?
Don Crowther.
No, I don't think I know that person.
Okay. Eben Pagan.
Don't know that person.
Okay. Jeff Walker.
Jeff Walker? Don't know Jeff Walker.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Underutilized.
Twitter.
Overutilized.
And the last one, Mark Schaefer.
Still learning.
Okay. The last. Okay, no, I have another one.
Okay.
The Tao of Twitter.
Oh, I'm so proud of that book. I'm very proud of that book. It's helped thousands of people, Amir, and I get notes from people every single day thanking me for writing that book because it's opened their eyes to Twitter. And I think if I look back at my life, I may very well look at, as far as my impact on business, that might be the one.
Surely.
That might be what I'm remembered for. And I've got a new edition of the book coming out in July.
Okay, so of course, if you didn't read it, you have to because it's an awesome book. And I'm just curious, what made you write the book?
Well, here's exactly why I wrote it. I was teaching a class in social media marketing, and I was frustrated because when I would talk about Twitter, there was so much to cover, I didn't have enough time. And a lot of the students said, oh, I didn't write that down fast enough, or I didn't understand that. So for my college class, I developed a handbook. I just wrote down, here are all the things I'm going to talk about, plus more. So after class one day, one of my students said, this handbook is worth the price of the whole class. And I said, really? So over a couple of weeks, I fleshed it out into a book. I decided to self-publish the book, and without any marketing, without any advertising, without a publisher, it became the best-selling book on Twitter in the world. And then later, when I started working with a publisher, they bought the rights to the book and relaunched it in 2012, and now we have a new edition coming out in 2014, which is really, it's I'd say 80% of the book is new.
Great. Okay. So, Mark, thank you so much for the entertainment you gave us, and of course the such a wonderful value we have now. For all of you, tune up for the next podcast, which we're gonna have. I'm gonna have interesting people, and thank you very much.
Thank you. A pleasure.
Bye bye.